Hello and welcome to Nature Photography during lockdown. We're locked in. I mean, seriously, I'm locked here in my garage. Please help me, help me, help me. No, it's okay, I'm fine. We're taking photos of things that we've brought inside from nature or things that remind us of nature and making it look like they were taken outdoors. This is part 3, and in this episode I'm going to be dealing with an element of nature that is pretty much essential for life on the whole planet: water. Don't go away. Okay, here we are. I've got myself set up in the garage. I'm not locked in. This is where I chose to do this. And I've got a few things here that you're going to need, so let's run through them. First thing is I've got a trestle table set up with a black tablecloth on it. The black tablecloth is important so that you don't get any reflections of light that you don't want coming off your table. I've also got my camera, of course. I've got my Nikon D5200 here. On my Nikon D5200, I have my 18 to 55mm lens. This is just a kit lens. This is all you're going to need for this. No fancy stuff here. So that's a good one because it can focus fairly close. I've also got my 50mm prime lens. It doesn't focus as close as the 18 to 55, but I'm going to get some shots with it later as well because it takes a more crisp photo. Got a bowl, clear glass bowl. I'm going to put the ice in there, and it's good because it's see-through. I can light it from the bottom, creates really good effects. We'll show you how to do that later. To light the bowl of ice, I'm just going to use my Tolifo PT-176s LED light. These are fantastic. I'm just going to use just this one light coming from one direction. It's going to create a great three-dimensional look. You'll see that in the results of the tests I took earlier. I've also got some lighting gels here. Now these are not going to create a nature effect. It's going to be a bit unnatural, but it's really cool to get some different colored lighting on things. So I've got some different colors there. I've got some yellow, blue and green. So that's going to create some really good effects. And of course, the other thing that you're going to need is your tripod. Please use a tripod. We don't want the camera moving at all. I've got 2 legs on the table and one down on the ground here so I can get really close, and I've got my camera mounted on this nice mounting plate here that's extendable so I can get my camera over vertically looking down above the ice. And that is the other thing we're going to need is ice, and lots of it, guys. I had my wife pick up a bag of ice on her way home from work because obviously this is frozen water, but it is going to revert back to water at some stage. So you're going to need to replace your bowl quite a lot. If you get as excited about this kind of photography as I do, you'll be here for quite a long time. So get a lot of ice, okay? And I've just got that in an esky down here beside me, and that's going to last me for ages. So that is pretty much all we need. So I think we should get started, take a few shots and see what happens. Now, one tip I've got for you here is crush your ice. I did some test shots earlier and I just used ice cubes straight out of the fridge. I thought that'll look great. I'll pile them up in the bowl, take a shot from above. That'll look really cool because, you know, ice cubes have that nice bubbly air trapped in the middle and it looks really awesome. It does look really awesome, but unless you're taking a photo really close, unless you're doing a macro shot of that, it doesn't look great. It looks very unnatural, and we're trying to fake nature shots here. So crush your ice. I just popped mine in the blender and then straight into the bowl. It almost looks like snow. It's really awesome. Now I took some test shots earlier with the cubes, and you can see the results here. It really does look good, but obviously not the natural look that we're going for. So then I did crush the ice and I took some photos where I did not light the bowl. So this is just the lighting that was coming into my lounge room at the time. And then I took this shot with my Tolifo P176s, just sitting to one side of the bowl, and look at that difference. It gives it a really three-dimensional look. It's washing light across the higher parts of the ice there, and it looks fantastic. So that's what we're going to do here. So let's get started. Okay, I've got my ice here. So we'll just pop that over there. There was a couple of things that I forgot to mention. The first one here was these that I left sitting there without talking about. These are my extension tubes. What I'm going to do later is I'm going to pop these on and take a few macro photos. So if you don't have extension tubes, don't stress. You don't need them for this tutorial, but it's just something I thought I would do later, just get in a little bit closer. So I'll talk about those a bit later. The other thing that you'll need is a towel. You're going to be touching ice, okay, because I suggest that you don't place the ice with like a spatula or a knife or anything flat, because you're going to get flattened areas and it's not going to look natural. We want to stick it in and squish around, get our hands in there, and you'll need to dry them before you touch your camera. So let's chuck the ice into the bowl. Perfect. No. So we'll just get our hands in there and just squish it down a little bit so that I don't make it look too... There we go, that looks pretty good. Get the towel, dry the hands off. Okay, now I'll get this camera set up correctly above the ice here. Kind of, now a few suggestions here. Try to get your camera pointing straight down so that it's perpendicular to the ice there, because you're going to get, that'll make it easier to get more of it in focus. Try and choose an interesting section of ice. I'm going to choose this bit over here because it's got some nice peaks and troughs in there. Now use live view on your camera if you can, so that you can manually focus. I suggest manually focusing in these instances because the camera doesn't know the exact point where you want to have your focus. And also with live view, you can zoom in and you can really nail down the focus onto whatever part of the ice that you're trying to get in focus. Okay, I think that focus is good. So I've got an aperture of f14 to try and get a little bit of depth of field. I've got my ISO at 100 so I get a noise-free image. And my shutter speed here, it's telling me I'm correctly exposed at 1 second. So what I'm going to do is set the camera to the timer, and I've got my, set it to the remote shutter release. I've got my remote here, so I don't have to touch the camera, and we'll click off a shot. So you can see that one, it's pretty good. There's not too much wrong with that at all, but the lighting is pretty boring. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just move those gels. We'll use the Tolifo over here to one side, right? Now the good thing about the Tolifo is you can adjust it. So it can go softer light or a more intense light, and it comes with two filters. This is like your white filter. There's also a nice warmer one which will give you nice kind of golden hour kind of a glow. And then so I'll just put a nice soft kind of a light in there. That looks pretty good. Now we'll take this shot and you'll see the difference in the, I won't touch any of my settings on the camera. I will touch the settings because obviously I have to make my shutter speed a little bit faster because I've added more light to the scene. Timer is on. Click off that shot. Now look at that. You can see the top left-hand corner of the frame is a little bit dark, but the whole mood of that shot is so much better to the one before it. The one before it is just flat and lifeless. This one is like three-dimensional. There's highlights, there's shadows. We've got everything going on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch off the lights here and I'll take a shot just with the Tolifo only, and you'll see the difference there. Okay, so the lights are off. You probably can't see me, but that's fine. Now, I can see this looks awesome through the viewfinder here already. I will just adjust my focus, make sure it's good, and just adjust my shutter speed a fraction there because it wants me to. Grab my remote and click off shot. Now you can see the result there. Our shadows in the image have a lot more depth. They're a bit darker. It just gives the image a little bit more of that three-dimensional look, and it's really quite awesome. So just play around with this, guys. Like, we can move the bowl around, you can move the camera in or out, as long as you think about the minimal focal distance of your lens. You can move the light around, move it around the front, move it around the side here. Try it from above, though you've got to be careful with it from above because you get a lot of highly reflecting highlights in there. But you know, just you can move it around anywhere you like. All right, let's start playing with these gels and we'll get some colored ice shots. All right, so firstly I'm going to grab the yellow gel. I'm just going to leave the Tolifo where it is. Simply rest that in front of it. And that makes an incredible difference already here. We'll go back to live view. Wow, it looks really good. Just check my focus. Now, when you put a different colored light on, you're going to have to adjust your exposure because different colored lights have different brightness levels. So you'll need to adjust your settings. And there you go, have a look at that one. See, bit of a nice yellow glow there. It's pretty cool. It does wash out a little bit towards the bottom right of the frame there, but you know, that's a nice effect. So we can try a blue one now. Try a blue one. I might move the light maybe this way a little bit. So blue is a really, really soft light, so you're going to have to adjust your shutter speed down a lot slower. Now by this stage my ice has melted quite a bit and there's a lot of water underneath. That actually creates a really good look to the shot because it gives those shadows a lot more beef. If you know what I mean. It makes the shadows darker and it really improves the look of your photo. Okay, that one looks good. Let's take a shot there. Check that one out. I like the blue. The blue's kind of nice. It makes you feel like you're in Antarctica. Now we'll go with some green. I've just moved the ice just so I'm not getting the same looking shot every time. We just want, I kind of like that there. You'll get a look in a second when I take this shot, just like that. And there's your green light, your green ice, which is kind of nice. I really like the green. So just play around with that. If you haven't got gels like this, don't stress. Just grab some colored cellophane, you know. Stick anything in front of it that you can find that'll color the light. Also, if you want to diffuse your light, if you need to soften it down and you don't have diffusers, what you can do is use baking paper from your kitchen. It's really good. You can use as many layers as you want to make the light as soft as you like it. And the thing with baking paper is it's heat resistant, so you can put it really close to hot lighting and it won't catch fire. Fingers crossed. All right, now what I want to do is raise the bowl up off the table and put my light underneath. So I'm going to organize that. All right, I've grabbed the really high-tech stand for my glass bowl. Just 4 drink cans here. So this would be where a larger bowl or, you know, tray here would be handy, but this will do the trick. Now, of course, when you raise it up, you're going to have to check that you haven't come inside of your lens's minimal focal distance. So I think I might have here with the 18 to 55. Yeah, I have. So I'm just going to raise my camera up a little bit. Now, when you're moving the tray of ice, remember that it's melting and there's a lot of water in there. Don't have your camera or your lighting too close to it because that will get a little bit scary. If you drop your camera in the water or you drop your light in the water, not much fun. All right, now what I'm going to do now that I've set that up is I'm going to turn this Tolifo down to maybe its lowest setting here and we'll pop it underneath. And this creates an amazing effect, guys. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it, I'm telling you. Now, now just try to get my focus right here. Focus looks good, exposure looks good. Switch back to the quick response remote, find my remote and check that out. Look at that, that is so great, isn't it? Really, really cool. I mean, this could be the wall of a glacier or something. You know, we could be walking through an ice cave in Iceland. You can pop this on Instagram and tell people you're in Iceland. I don't promote that. I do not promote faking a glorious life. Just live the one you've got. All right, moving on. I just wanted to turn that light up a little bit because I didn't think it was bright enough. I may move my camera over so it's more to the center of the light here. Oh, that looks beautiful. That looks really, really beautiful. Let's click off a shot there. Gotta drop my exposure. So my settings for this particular shot here, if you're into settings, they don't really matter. They're different for every situation. The settings here, I've got 1/100th of a second. f14 is my aperture and my ISO is 100. My ISO has been 100 this whole time. Please don't pick on the way I say ISO. It's not an acronym. And I say ISO. All right, now, how's that shot? That's pretty good, huh? Exposure's good. Wow, I'm loving it. All right, now we can add an extra dimension to this and put a gel over the top of the light underneath. So I'm gonna do blue because I like that kind of glacier look. So I'm gonna grab out, if I can get it out, the blue one, and I'll just fold it up and slide it over the top of my light there. And awesome, we have a blue glow in our eyes now. Oh my God, that's beautiful. Now you can always, you know, move the ice around if you like, you know, get your hands in there, mix it around, make different shapes, or you can just wait for it to melt and do it itself, you know, it'll do wonderful things all on its own. So here's our blue ice, awesome, you know. I mean, forgive me for doing this, but I know this is not nature, but I have seen ice similar color to this in Antarctica, and you know, so this is nature. It's nature photography, we're faking it. What I'm going to do now before this ice gets too liquid is put an extension tube on the front of my camera, and I'll get some really close shots and I'll show you a few tips and tricks about macro with extension tubes. So I'll get that on and we'll come back and get into it. Okay, I've got my extension tube on there. I'm using my largest extension tube. That one there is a 36mm. I've got a 3 in this pack here. There's the 36, a 20mm and a 12mm. Now, you can actually use all 3 of them all together and you can get insanely close to your subject, but because this is ice, I don't really want my lens, you know, 2mm from the ice. So if you don't know what extension tubes are, they're basically a piece of plastic that goes on your lens, between your lens and your camera, and it just moves your lens that little bit further away from your sensor and therefore allows you to focus closer than the minimal focusing distance of that lens. So you can get, these are active extension tubes, so they will work with my autofocus system, which is not really necessary. I always suggest focusing manually anyway when you're that close to something, but you can get you know, passive ones that are just plastic, just a piece of plastic basically. So obviously I'm going to have to move my camera here because I can't focus. Oh no, I can focus there. There you go, look at that. But I can get a lot closer than that, and that was the point of this exercise. So I'm going to drop that down a little bit there. That's as far as I can go with the center column of the tripod there. So we'll just get in here and have a look, see what's going on. See, this is great. You can get right in there and see the bubbles in the ice, and it's just amazing. Now, one thing with extension tubes is you will not have as much light coming into your camera, so you'll have to adjust your exposure. So I've had to change my shutter speed to 1/4 of a second here. And this just looks amazing, guys, it really does. Check this out. Have a look at that. Isn't that brilliant? I mean, that totally could be the wall of a glacier in Iceland or somewhere. Now, the other thing with extension tubes is because your lens is so close to the subject, your depth of field is going to be decreased. So you're going to struggle to get a lot of things in focus. What you can do is a technique called focus stacking. And I'll just quickly run you through that. What I'll do is I'll remove that gel for starters, and I might just do another shot before I remove the light from under there. I'm going to do one more shot of this here because this is so awesome. And then we can compare the two, the blue and the clear there. So good. Okay, so I'm going to move the thing here because I want to get a different part of the ice. So I might just move my camera as opposed to moving the thing. So just move your camera around, find something really interesting. Now what I'm going to do is I've found a kind of a hole in the ice here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the bottom of the hole, focus on the very bottom part. So you can zoom right in using live view and make sure that you've got your focus way down the bottom there. And your exposure correct. And you take a photo. Then what you do is you just move your focus ring ever so slightly and bring your focus back up a little bit to the next part of the hole, and then take another shot and then do the same thing again. You can zoom in on your live screen if you need to, or just guess just by moving the focus ring sort of the same amount at the same amount every time until you think you've got the whole thing from bottom to top. Or you can start from top to bottom if you want. You can start with the closest point and then focus down to the furthest point. It's up to you. And then what you do is you import these photos into Photoshop later on, and then you can stack them, which means Photoshop will choose all the really good focus parts of each of those images and put them all together, and hopefully it will look great. Sometimes it doesn't work. It depends on how many shots you have and how well you've done the focusing, but you know, it can work really good if you get it right. So we'll see if I get it right with this one, and I'll show you the finished result. I think that might do. I'll have a look at that last frame. I don't think I need anything else. No, that's all blurry, I think. So hopefully I got it. We'll see the end result anyway. So that's how to photograph ice inside your home and make it look like the photos were taken outside. I hope you've really enjoyed this. Just remember, play around with it. Move your ice around, move your camera around, move your camera in, move your camera out. Try macro photography with extension tubes if you have them. If you don't, I've listed some in the description below. There's other things listed down there below too. There's the Tolifo light there and other things that you've seen in this video. So have fun with it, guys. I mean, you're locked in, you've got time, experiment with this. It's a great way to learn your camera. It's a great way to learn photography. Next week, we will be looking at water in its liquid form. So I am going to get busy this week here in my garage doing high-speed photography, which I have never done before. I'm going to try and capture water droplets frozen in time and using my flash, and we'll see what happens because I've never done this before. So I'm going to practice, and hopefully I'll have a really awesome video for you about that next week. If you don't want to miss that video, please subscribe and ding the notification bell. If you like this video, hit the like button, Leave a comment if you have any questions or you just want to chat. And I will see you next time. Until then, I'm Barry Callister of Photographer's Freedom. Stay in here, take some wicked shots, and I'll see you soon. Bye.